So I've done some more work on the neck. I've got the fretboard radius and I'm now drilling the holes for the side dots. So I've got my jig set up and lined up, ready to go. Making sure that I have lined up the right frets so the dots are in the right place. And I've got a 2mm bit in my hand drill. These give you a bit more control than a battery drill because it's easy for them to get away from you. But these are a little bit more stable. So line it up in the jig. Give it a few turns forwards and then a little bit back. And then it's just rinse and repeat. Holding it steady. Keep the drill vertical and straight. And you'll have no problems. So now I'm going to be putting in white plastic side dots. Now, obviously I'm down towards the end of these couple of rods I've been using, and when you cut them, the ends tend to get a bit messed up. So I'm just tidying those up, just so I can make it fit into the hole. He says, got a glue bottle with a precision applicator. Encourage it in. There we go. So again, small amount of glue. Cut a little bit off. I'm now installing the frets. I'll use the compression method for getting the frets in. I've got some Jescar medium jumbo frets. The slots for them are 0.5 millimeter, and with the tangs on the frets, they're literally like 0.53 of a mil or something, so they shouldn't have any problems with gripping into the wood. I've done most of the frets already. Well, 7 of them actually, not most. 7 is not most of 22. The slots are cleaned out, and these lengths of fret wire come with a pre-radius to them. Now, you need the frets to be a slightly tighter radius than the fretboard that you're putting them into, which these are of checked. So if they're not, then use a fret bender or pliers or something to give them a bit more of a curve. But basically what you do is you tap the fret into the slot and then use the fret setter to make sure it's seated correctly. I'm trimming the ends of the frets as I go along because when you get up to the dusty end of the fingerboard, obviously they get a lot closer together, so it's more difficult to get the nippers in. So locate the fret in the slot and give it a tap at each end. And when you're trimming the frets down, it's important that you keep the cutters straight and vertical as you can, because you don't want the fret twisting. like that. Because if the fret twists, then it can pull itself out of the slot and damage the fingerboard, which none of us want. Right, so now we've got the length fret we want. Another couple of taps on the ends, and then you start in the middle and go to the edges. And then I use the fret setter, which has got a notch in the end that sits over the crown of the fret, and again go from the middle. And you're looking for the consistent tone in the hit all the way along, and then just visually check that we're in. Yeah. And then if there's excess coming out the fingerboard, because hammering into the middle of the fret and going to the edges, it compresses the fret down, so it's going to splay a small amount. So as I said, I'm trimming them as I go. Oh, ping. Just because it makes life a little bit easier when you get further up the fingerboard. Now, the other thing, these little fret offcuts are incredibly sharp, and you need to make sure that you gather them all up and get rid of them before you do anything, because these things have got a tendency to get stuck everywhere, and if you don't notice one and you've done some finishing or whatever, you don't want to put your guitar down on one of these, because it will just absolutely trash the work you've just done. Just check the slot is clean. And again, tap tap, trim, and then hammer away. So that's how I install frets. So I'll get the rest of these in. Right, so got all the frets in, looking pretty good, but we've trimmed them down and I need to get rid of these sharp edges. So to do that, we get the file out. So I'm just filing down these ends. So we'll keep going with this until we've got both sides down flush with the edges of the fretboard. Gently file away. Fret ends are now filed down flush with the fingerboard, and basically I'll keep going until you get the tone change. So if you're only touching metal, you'll get that, but you can hear the slight difference in tone when you start touching the wood, and that's when you can stop. And then what we do, or what I do rather, is I rub my thumb up the end of the fret like that, and it should feel, well, smooth basically. So you know there's nothing sticking out the side or sprouting out. Now you're still going to get sharpness going that way because these ends are still like unfinished, but we'll get to that when we do the bevel on the edge and then start rounding the fret ends over. So yeah, that's installing the frets. Now I fit frets first so that I've still got a block, you know, a flat blank on the back of the neck to support it while I'm hammering in the frets. Now I know you can get, you know, you can get shaped cauls that the neck will sit in so that you can do this, and I've tried that, but I still find that the neck moves in the caul, and I just try doing it this way and it seems to work a bit better for me. Now it does mean when you're carving the neck, you do have to be aware of where the frets are so you don't catch them with the files or the rasp when you're carving the profile into the neck, but as long as you're careful you won't have any problems with that at all. So yeah, frets are in, and always makes things look a little bit better. So yeah, not a bad couple of hours work.